Football Friday, and the calendar has turned, and Jerry Diorio is with us. And Jerry, it feels like November out there.
Great to be a Michigan Wolverine, Denny. Always great to be a Michigan. You know, Denny, you said it's like November out there, but I'll tell you what. I've been in a lot of football seasons as a coach and a player. I cannot remember a fall this nice all the way through.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was sitting around in my shorts the last couple of days, and there was one night over the last 2 weeks I was thinking, do I have to go turn on the air conditioner? Right. I was thinking that. So,
right.
Yeah, it doesn't get like that. But today, if you didn't know it was November, you'd say, man, it feels kind of like November. Now you had a wind out there and everything else. Michigan's going to be at home. They're taking on Oregon. We're going to talk a lot about that. We'll have a thought or two on Michigan recruiting as the spotlight and the interest has skyrocketed over the last 2 weeks for whatever reason. We may know. And then Jerry's got some plays for us to look at in the film segment, which is always something to look forward to. It's always something to look forward to, Jerry.
This is Michigan primetime getting me going. Those are great players. Mike McClusick and Justin Eastman, they were playing for me at Wayland. In 2013, we ended up going to playoffs, lost in the district championship to Byron Center, and I think McClusick had like 400 yards the week before against Plainwell, and I think he ran for 44 times. So that's my feelings on the run game, Denny. How about that?
Well, we're going to get to that run game. Let's just tell everybody that if you are not a member of the Maize and Blue Review, you're doing it all wrong. You want to be clued in on Michigan and know what's going on in recruiting. You want the straight scoop. You want to know what's really happening. Well, you join up with the Maize and Blue Review, and that's what you get. And that's just one thing. There's a number of things, including, and we just talked about recruiting, but what's going on with the football team, how things look in the projections for the upcoming games, the offseason, next season, all of that, basketball, the other sports, it's all there for you. You join up and get full access today by going to michigan.rivals.com, and we would love to see you over there talking about Michigan. We're talking about Michigan right now, and Michigan is nearly a 15-point favorite. 15-point underdog, Jerry. It's not often that you say that
about the Big House too.
Well, yeah, right. So I don't know. Here's Smash saying Michigan's got a 20% chance. You feel like they got a 20% chance and that they can do it. What do you make of that?
Well, hey, we got a heartbeat, so we got a chance, right? But now, no. All seriousness, Denny. Here's the deal: we've got a great equalizer here. If our ground game controls the clock, finishes drives, doesn't turn the ball over, that's how you stop these high-powered offenses. I mean, you got to take them off the field, and then you got to play defense. Obviously, that's fundamental. And they're a great offensive team. Don't get me wrong. That's why I'm preaching so much to control the tempo, control the speed of the game. Keep their offense on the sidelines, convert third downs, fourth downs, keep drives alive. And there's your chance to win in a game, and it goes up a lot more than 20% if we can do that.
Yeah, I want to know tomorrow if they're going to wake up and when their feet hit the ground, are they going to feel like it's beast mode time? It's time to go out there and play our best game of the year, because that's what it's going to take. And they have not been able to put 4 quarters together. You can go to each side of the ball. We know what's been going on with the offense. The defense, can they play their best game of the year? And that's going to be through 4 quarters. That's what it's going to take. Do they have that in them? That's what I want to know. The offense, there were some bright signs, like not giving up any sacks, not committing any penalties, not turning the ball over. I mean, those are nice things. Now, can they take that forward and take it into tomorrow? Do they have it in them, Jerry? You just said you think if these are the things that you specifically talked about that have to go well. Do you think they know tomorrow? They better think wake up and feel like they have a shot.
They absolutely should. I mean, when Orgy's in the game, it's very rare that you're going to see us behind the chains. We're going to see a play where he gets hit behind the line of scrimmage, still gets 3 yards, and the hit was a penalty and resulted in another 15 yards. As long as we're moving the ball down the field, converting our third downs, keeping the ball away from them, we've got every bit of chance to win this game as they do. They're coming across the country. They're coming across and coming in the big house. They're 15.5-point favorites. Nobody's giving us a chance. That's the best part of tomorrow. That's going into the game saying, let's play fancy free and loose. Let's go.
Yeah, they got nothing to lose, is what
they got nothing to lose. Let's go.
They don't have a lot. I mean, you say you don't have a lot of pressure on them, but nobody really is expecting them to win the game. There's some people that never consider Michigan losing, and I get that, and I understand that. And so you pick Michigan to win this game. You look for examples. Jerry gave you some examples of what they need to do. When Alabama was the number 1 team this year, they went to Vandy as an 18.5-point favorite, and they lost. So there's that. Notre Dame, who's looked pretty good this year, they lost to Northern Illinois at home. So there's 2 big upsets this year. And somebody was telling me today, he's a big pro football fan. He said, anything can happen any Sunday. He feels like this year watching, it's kind of like that in college football. Nothing is going to surprise him, is what he was telling me. Now, look, he was in Ann Arbor, and we were talking about Michigan's chances. That's what he had to say. And I was nodding my head. That made a little bit of sense to me. Those things make sense. I'm not picking Michigan to win the game, but anything can happen any given Saturday, those kind of things. They're in with a chance. Stranger things have happened. Those are the kind of things you say, for me, at least I think about heading into the game tomorrow.
You got a lot of pride on that team, Denny. You got a number of players coming back on that defensive side of the ball that were part of that national championship in a big, big way. And they're going to I'm looking for them to take this kind of personally. Our defense has not put together 4 quarters, but we have seen improvements week in and week out. We're starting to see the points coming down from in the 30s to now in the teens, and that's a good thing. Can we keep Oregon in that position? We'll see tomorrow. But I'll tell you what, if our offense is clicking, and I like that, Kent. Yeah, I'm on the Orgy bandwagon. No, I'm not on the Orgy bandwagon. Here, let me put this to you real good, Kent. I like what we did last week. I like that Davis was in there making passes, but Orgy keeps drives alive, and he creates major conflicts for the defense. Oregon is what, the 10th or 11th best rushing team in the Big Ten this year. They're not overly great. They've got great pass rushers. Their edge players are very good. But their run defense is somewhat suspect, and that's our strength. And I think we can take it to them defensively. I hope we're going to drop a lot and cover some people, because I think we can get home with 3 or 4, but we've got to cover the receivers and we got to stop their run game.
Yeah, maybe you could make a case that, and you were making it a little bit earlier, that Michigan can really run the ball, and if they were keeping it away from Oregon and had these long sustained drives, that sounds good. If I was making up a recipe for the upset, that would sound good. They're going to have to come up with some explosive plays, and maybe they can rely on Khalil Mullings, ripping off a 50-yarder or Donovan Edwards. Those guys have done that
all year.
Oregon has explosive playmakers. Tej Johnson is one. Orgy had an explosive play last week in the first drive of the second half against Michigan State.
Big time.
That's going to be the idea when you're Sharon Moore and company, when you were watching him, putting him, maybe they thought he was going to do that as a starter every once in a while. He was going to rip off some explosive plays. That'd have been nice. But when you saw that, it was something we really haven't seen much this year. Wow, yeah. An explosive play for the Michigan offense.
Well, Denny, wait a minute. We've seen plenty of explosive plays from the Michigan offense in the run game. We haven't seen it in the pass game, but we've seen it in the run game. Orgy on that play, a couple things on that play. Number one, all that was a power. That was a blocking power play. That means there was no reinstall. There was no reinventing the offense. All they did was take our normal offense and apply Orgy as the running back. And they did it in empty, which means now they've got to take the people. I don't care how bad you think Orgy is at throwing the ball. I can hit a bubble. Okay, so when you have 5 guys out, you've got to have 5 defenders out. That means we're one-on-one on the blocking with our offensive line against theirs, and Orgy's got the ball. He showed that he has the speed to get outside. We're going to take a look at, if we get time to take a look at that video. We're going to see he has speed. He's shown he has speed. We've seen him run over linebackers, and we've seen him keep drives alive. Those are all good things that help winning teams. I think Orgy can give defenses a ton of problems.
Jerry, let me ask you this question without knowing the answer 100% for sure. Kenneth is asking about Will Johnson playing. Now, Will Johnson has an ankle injury, and Sharon Moore was asked about him coming back, and, he gave the typical, like you coaches, we'll see how he works through some things this week. Now, he did say that he would be back with this ankle injury at some point this year. The thing is, if you're telling me right now, if we had Will Johnson on here and Will's like, I'm 80%, this is just me guessing. Is that something that you'd say, boy, if this was a championship game or a Big Ten championship game, Will Johnson would be in there? And if you tell me that if he rests it next week, he would be 90%. And then if you said if he had that one off against Northwestern, a game that they have to win, to be honest, to be bowl eligible, he would be as close to 100% as you could be. What would your recommendation be if the doctor said, hey, it's really up to Will Johnson? He's cleared. He's 80%, but he'll be 90, and then he'd be 100 the following week. What would you want to do if you were the head coach with Will Johnson? And I don't know if it breaks down like that. He's either ready to go and cleared, and then he plays or not. But what if it was that kind of hypothetical?
Well, if I'm the coach, if you're asking me from a coach's perspective, I'm going to look at him and I'm going to see, are we better off with him on the field at 80%? Is he able to cover? Is he able to keep us in good situations, put our defense in good situations, kind of like the quarterback? You got that 80. If he's 80%, he's not right. You got to weigh that in. Maybe we're better off with him sitting out another week, and trying to get this game with our backups. Hill's been playing much better. Jair Hill has been playing much better. That remains to be seen. Is Will Johnson even 80%? We don't even know. The other thing is, you're looking out for the young man's health and his future. Obviously, would we be putting him in a position where he's risking a serious injury later on? That's also got to be in the idea. That's where I'm at. Are we better off with him on the field, and are we risking him really seriously injuring something?
Yeah, and it is going to be different. Even though Sharon Moore was adamant, the others that were talking last week were adamant that, hey, he's not checking out because he's going to be a top 10 pick. If he can be out there, he can be out there. And yet, if you're Michigan, if Michigan was undefeated or they had one loss, you're thinking, hey, this is the number 1 team in the country. You're playing for a championship. It's going to be different. I mean, It's different. It is a different situation. And I'm thinking about, obviously you want to win the game over the number 1 team. That's a huge statement. Obviously you want to go on the road and beat Indiana, because then you are bowl eligible. But if you're telling me that you want a 100% Will Johnson, or as close as you can get to him, the championship game, as weird as it sounds, even though they have Ohio State, they got number 1 Oregon, they've got Indiana, who's been playing great. The championship game might be I don't want to say championship. The most important game might be against Northwestern, because it's a real chance to win if you want to be bowl eligible. And I don't know, Jerry, for me, the number 1 thing, if people say, what do you want most from Michigan right now? There's a lot of things. I'm going to say being bowl eligible is number 1.
Well, yeah, obviously, that would be a little bit embarrassing if we came off a national championship and weren't even bowl eligible the following year. That would not be good. That would not sit well with the Michigan faithful. But at the end of the day, I don't believe we need Will Johnson to beat Northwestern. We need Will Johnson out there to beat Oregon. Is he ready for Oregon? I don't know. We'll see if he plays. I would love to see him against Ohio, no matter what happens the rest of the season. I'd like to see him. I'd love to see that matchup, Will Johnson 100% against their new freshman. I'd love to see that one, that little matchup. And I think that could be a real incentive out there for him.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a genie, it just came out of the bottle here, was asking for one wish. I might wish for Bryce Underwwod to come into Michigan. That might be something. But if the genie said you got one wish about these remaining 4 games, what is it going to be? My wish would be beat Ohio State.
Absolutely.
You're going to get bowl eligible. You beat Ohio State. That's awesome. Now, you might say the one wish would be to win the remaining game. That would be good. But the genie's like, you're going to have to be a little bit more realistic than that. What's not realistic, Jerry, but this is I was going to put it up here. It's from Ferris. He says, if any chance that Sharon Moore sits out a couple games now to proactively avoid an NCAA hammer. Now, the notice of allegations, there's a potential that Sharon Moore could be suspended. We don't know. Could be suspended. There could be, hey, we're talking about Michigan being bowl eligible. They could say, Michigan's not going to be bowl eligible this year. And you're like, oh, hey, big deal. Well, you get those 15 practices, but I don't know. They're not going to not try to be bowl eligible because the NCAA is coming out and saying, oh, you're not going to be bowl eligible. I don't think you're conceding anything if you're Michigan at that point with that. So, no, you're not sitting out because the season's quote unquote over because you're trying to lessen the blow from the NCAA. Let me put it to you this way, Jerry. I know I just talked in circles there for 2 minutes and you're rolling your eyes at me, maybe others. If the NCAA got a hold of Ward Manuel and said, hey, Sharon takes a seat for one game, you guys are all set, and we're not going to have anything else to do, what are you going to do then?
If the NCAA comes to us and says, this whole thing goes to bed with Sharon Moore sitting out one game, I'll take it.
Yeah, if that was the case, I would too.
I'd take it because, it just seems like this whole stuff from last year just lingering and for no reason. I mean, when you think about what that team did last year without its head coach on the field for 6 games, getting rid of its sign decoding system, which everybody else has. Let's get rid of that because we won the national championship with all kinds of things against us last year. So I would take it. I'd say, Sharon, take your medicine. It's your first year. You're not getting fired this year. I've been a first-year coach. You got to give your first-year coach an opportunity to find his groove a little bit, to get his people in there a little bit. So sit one out, Sharon, and let's move forward.
Good answer. I agree with you. I'm picking Oregon 31, Michigan 20 tomorrow. Before we move on, you got anything final that you want to say about the game tomorrow, Jerry?
Hey, Denny, I'm I played at Michigan. It's just really difficult for me to go against the blue.
Pick Michigan then. Go ahead.
It's really difficult for me to go against the blue. If our defense can step up and keep them at 17 or under 20, you doggone right, I think we got a chance to win this game. And I think we can hold them to 17 or 20 or under 20 if we possess the ball in finish drives in the end zone.
I appreciate the honesty about you of coming up with that prediction. Jerry, let's move over to recruiting. A lot of people have been looking at recruiting this week, and with the news that Michigan is back in with the LSU quarterback commitment, Bryce Underwwod from Belleville. Now, this week, Michigan just lost the Gatorade Player of the Year in Florida.
We lost the commit.
Carter Smith.
We lost the commit. That doesn't mean he can't come back, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Jerry. So what do you think? Robert says, are we really going after him? If it's fake news and you lose the Gatorade Player of the Year that just stated last week his commit was solid. Oh, this is probably why. I mean, you can right when all the news comes out, this is when he decommits. So there's a lot going on there. What do you think of this whole situation? How about that?
I think I've said this before. The teams that have the players up front on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball have won the last 4 or 5 national championships. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have a quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, is Bryce Underwood's price tag too much for all the rest of the Michigan Wolverine football players? And what I mean by that is this going to be another Caleb Williams deal where we're paying one player and the rest of them we're taking our chances on and just rolling the dice? No, I would take a lesser quarterback, not too much less. I would take a lesser quarterback, build up my offensive and defensive lines or cornerbacks, get our defense sound again, and spread that money around, and then go after our decommit and say, that was all fake news. We want you. Because Bryce Underwwod by himself, I don't think is going to be all that great. If he's got if he doesn't have an offensive line, doesn't have a running game, doesn't have a defense, what good is spending $5 million on one player?
Yeah, it's a great point, Jerry. You buy a brand new car. Hey, you better get real nice tires. You got to put premium gas in. You better have a nice garage. You better buy the best insurance. If you get Bryce Underwwod, you better get him a lot of good receivers. You better get him a pretty good offensive line. You better get him a pretty good defensive line. I would love to be in the general manager's room with Sean McGee and look at the board saying, I don't know, you guys going to have 20 million? Or do you just have 9 million and you're going to give over 50, 60% to Bryce Underwwod, and then you're going to try to, span the rest of the money out, spread the money out, for the rest of the 20 recruits?
That's not good for Bryce. That's not good for Underwood, because now all of a sudden you got a line that might be very suspect. Now you're opening up for an injury. When you put all that money, it's all the old adage, Denny, I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. Sorry.
Well, it's exciting in a lot of ways, because Michigan in the last 3 years with everything in college football, but specifically NIL and the transfer portal, college football's changed more in the last 3 years than it has in the last 50, just like that.
Yes, at least, yes.
And now Michigan, they win the national championship, doing it kind of the old way. Harbaugh was pretty adamant. We're not giving money up front. This is transformational, not transactional. Now they're in the transactional. Does Andrew Babaloa, who they just got as a commitment, was Michigan saying, look, you can come in. These are the kind of NIL things. Now Babaloa, who's, had, I'm sure, people waving 6 figures. Maybe he, and you're talking about, yeah, you better have an offensive line. I don't know. Do they have to adjust with everyone if they're going all in and it's they're opening up the purse strings? Do they have to go to everyone on the team and every recruit, and even Brady Hart, who's a quarterback, not for this next year, but the following year? Do they have to go to him and say, okay, here's our plan with you? I mean, the price for Bryce, it's not just for him. All of a sudden you go from, you're here now, you got to almost be all in. Not that you need to be like the U or Texas A&M and just, buying everybody that comes up, but it's interesting how they're, how they target it. They've got a 5-star linebacker in this weekend who, he's going to be going after some big money too. I don't know. Are they ready to throw some money? Hey, great, let's do it. But
it brings, let's put this in perspective of the pros. What did when you look at Tom Brady, how many times did he give up money to get some help at other positions to help him out a little bit? He did.
Yeah, but he did. But I don't know if it compares, Jerry, because Tom Brady, if you already have $100 million in the bank and you got 4 Super Bowls, and somebody says, "Man, hey, can you instead of making 30, can you take 20?" Man, yeah, okay. I think a lot more guys should do that. They don't, but so that's not to discredit Tom Brady. He did it. These guys have earned their 5 stars, the composite or anything else. Bryce Underwwod would be stupid if he would go to Michigan and say, "I don't need any upfront money. I'll take that $10,000 dealership. I just love the maize and blue." It'd be music to Michigan fans' ears, but you can't be leaving $5-6 million on the table if you're a 17-year-old kid. I mean, I don't even know what his background, family situation is. Almost any kid that's a 5-star should be thinking about getting a 7-figure deal.
I'll tell you what, Denny, if I'm a 5-star quarterback like that and those monies are coming at me, I want to know what's up front and what's in my backfield and what's on my receiver corps. Okay? Because, the money sounds all great and everything. But if I'm going to get hurt or if I'm going to lose some momentum going into the pros because I'm getting sacked and I'm hurrying my throws and interceptions are coming and all this other stuff, is it really worth it? So he's got to look at that too. He's got to look at who's surrounding him. Am I going to be surrounded with good players and help my performance, or am I going to be the only one getting money and then rolling the dice on how good I am?
And if I'm LSU, if Michigan had pulled the number 1 player in the country, number 2 player in the country from just right outside of Baton Rouge as a quarterback, we would all be like, "Hey, great job. Kid wants to change the scenery and everything else." But we would all know at some point LSU was going to circle back and, come at him one last time to make. And so the LSU folks, I'm sure, were ready for Michigan to come back in here and make another pitch at him. How realistic it is at getting him. It's like a lot of people don't want to put numbers or anything else. I think it's still pretty low. I know there's people like, "Oh, I know his daddy," or whatever else. I know the family. I know. I look at the situation. I still think it's way under 50. I would put it at 25% at the most. And people say, "Oh, no, you don't know." I'm just telling you from the outside looking in. That's what I would say. But I also think because he's in your own backyard and he is a quarterback and you did miss out on Dante Moore, that it feels like, you do have to make a run. I don't mind making a run at the best players, even in this spot, even if it means losing Carter Smith.
The one silver lining here is we're not in the revenue sharing phase of college football, if I'm correct, right, Denny? We're not under any revenue sharing what do I want to call it? Cap. Money cap.
Not yet. This is
if there was a time to go for him, I guess this would be the time and empty the bank with everybody else too. Go deep into the pockets for everything. I mean, why not? This is the time to do it. There's no cap. There's no revenue sharing that's going to stop you. This is the time to do it. I'm just saying that if I got to spread my money around and I got to give 40, 50, 60% of my money to one player, I don't know if that's good for anybody.
Jerry, what you just said there, what I want to do is take Michigan's old system of saying we want guys that want to play for Michigan and want an education and are ready to run through the wall, or our team guys are good kids, all of these things. And then I'm taking what you just said. I want to break the bank. I just don't want to just say 5 stars. Let's just pay them out. I want to put those two ideas together. We got a bunch of money, and before long, another year or 2, who knows, 3. There's going to be a cap, and it's going to limit people. But right now, it's there's no cap. Everybody's just a free agent. So use your old ideas of transformational and everything else. But hey, we're also transactional now. So can you find those kids? I don't know.
The biggest recruiting what do I want to say? The biggest recruiting advantage we could have is go get our alumni and get that bank opened up and throw all kinds of money in there and get as many top 4 and 5-star players as we can. Right, Denny?
Well, hey, they could partner up with Live or something, and then, you could start giving, every guy $200 million. Michigan could come away with the #1 recruiting class. But as we've seen, the answer is not just, I know the Dodgers and the Yankees were just in the World Series, so it's not a great example, but the Tigers, their payroll is only $18 million. It's not always the team that gives the biggest amount of money that wins it. It seems easier, but you need a lot of things. And I think Michigan has those other things. I don't think that they're just sitting around saying, all right, we're just going to pay everybody the most money. That's going to be our strategy. I still think they're going to go about it their old values way, and they're going to pick and choose which guys to make a run at. But, make a run at all of those guys and see how you can do. That makes any sense.
Kind of, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, my nightmare scenario for tomorrow is that Oregon gets up handily and puts Dante Moore, who wanted to go to Michigan, but Michigan, this was before Michigan was a player. And now Dante Moore is going to be out there and wanting to show everyone he always wanted to play in Ann Arbor. I would rather not see Dante Moore if I could if Michigan's going to lose. Like, I want Michigan to win. I don't want to see Dante Moore out there. All right. How about we'll take 2 questions on this, Jerry, to see before we go to the film.
Okay.
John says, I told you a week ago Michigan would break the bank, and you laughed at me. What do you say now? I didn't mean to laugh at you, John. I have to go back and look. I'm not trying to laugh at anyone. I hope Michigan gets Underwood, and I'm not trying to laugh at anybody like that. Let's see, Rico.
I think John brings up, John, we're in Never Land. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this, so we don't know what's going on, where the money is, and how much money we have to spend, and all that good stuff. So, no, I get you. I get both sides there.
Jamyan, the last one on the recruiting front, he says even if they get Underwood, they will still get someone in the portal. And that's the thing. So, yeah, all right, they run off Carter Smith. They strike out on Underwood. Those are things that you don't like to think about. There is the transfer portal. And they can hit that, not only for 10 other positions or 10 other players, but also 1 or 2 quarterbacks.
Well, obviously, we definitely need to find an extra quarterback in the portal. We learned that this year. We learned that firsthand, how important it is. We felt very good, I believe, about Tuttle. I believe the coaching staff, everybody felt really good about Tuttle. And then the unfortunate thing happened. He had this injury was lingering too. We this thing was something that was building up inside him by overthrowing or whatever. And it was unfortunate. But that's where our bank was. I believe we were looking at Tuttle as our answer. And when he got hurt, we kind of got caught with not having an answer. Not having a solid answer anyways.
I thought you were going to say with their pants down, but I thought it would work too. They did kind of feel like they got caught with their pants down, which is a weird phrase, but it kind of feels like it works here. All right, Jerry, how about some film?
We got some film, Denny. We got some film. Let me get it set up here, Denny.
Well, let me tell everyone that Quick Cut is the way to go. And if you want to be like Jerry and get into video and analytics, go to Quick Cut, and you can tell us straight, like John Madden used to, like Jerry does here on a Friday. And with that, we are ready to do some telestrating and look at last week's game.
All right, Denny. Denny, not a lot of offensive highlights in that first half. The defense seemed like they were on the field. By the way, I got to say this, Denny. I was watching the game at a wedding, an outside wedding in October. How about that one?
Nice
but
weather.
it was not bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Okay, here we go. A little pin and pull action here. We got Loveland blocking down. The young man from Youngstown State blocking down. And it's nice to see big old Miles Hinton getting out here and pulling around. But it's a nice little pin and pull situation. I love this scheme. I love this concept. And what I really like is we're blocking everybody except the cornerback. So we're telling that cornerback, you better come up and make the play. And cornerbacks don't typically like coming up and making tackles on running backs, especially one like Mullins. Here's Edwards. Cornerbacks don't like making that play right there. So I like that action. I like everything about that play. I like the blocking scheme of it. And I like forcing their cornerback to try to make a play. I don't know how you do this. You've got an All-American candidate here, Colston Loveland. This motion probably got them a little bit confused, but I believe this young man right here is supposed to be all over Mullins or all over Loveland. He should have been in man coverage. Watch his eyes. Look at him right now, Denny. You see him? He's looking at Loveland. There's no question in my mind he's looking at Loveland. But as soon as that motion goes by, now he's looking to see who's got what, takes his eyes off Mullen for a second. And great scheme, great motion, great play. Outstanding. One thing I will say, Tommy is not having the kind of year he had last year. I mean, his punts, he's had a couple suspect punts, couple mishandles on an extra point. I'm hoping he starts getting it back together where he was last year because it's been a little bit disappointing here. This young man.
Jerry, if I could jump in on Doman, a lot of people want to know about Doman and his form, and also he hasn't done the greatest job as a holder. Kickers, punters, and place kickers, it's a little bit like being on the first tee, driving the ball. It gets into your head a little bit, and a lot of it has to do with confidence. And, he was in a great groove last year. He only had that one game. I think it was the Penn State game he wasn't great at, but all the rest of them he was. And then here it's not form. I would say it's more of a mental thing, but that's what I see.
I don't know if you caught this before the season because I was at a practice and I saw the practice. There was a punter, and I think it was Sabata, to be honest with you, that was just booming the ball. And I could see Tommy Doman's head go down a couple of times. And that was a little bit shocked that Tommy was the starting punter right at the beginning. I was a little bit shocked because there was one guy on that team that was just punting the heck out of the ball. And I thought it was Zapata, but I'm not sure. He's having a little bit of difficulty, and it would be nice to get him back on the team, right, or get him back on his mindset for the remaining stretch. That would be nice. This young man, Josiah Stewart, is having an All-American season. With all the things that have gone bad with Michigan this year, this guy has been consistent. He's been a disruptor. He's just had an outstanding year, tremendous effort. I was listening to one commentary this week, a former Michigan alumni, saying good players make sacks, great players force fumbles after the sack. And there it is. Josiah Stewart having just an absolutely phenomenal season this year. And I'm hoping he gets some recognition as that in that All-American talk. That leads to a field goal, and that was a very important field goal right there, Denny. Putting us up 9-7 going into halftime was huge, especially when we get the ball coming out. Now, the one series I missed completely, I had to go back and try to look at every highlight I could, was this first series coming out at the third quarter, and I heard all the commentary about how innovative and exciting it was, and all the different things that we did. And yeah, I was very happy. But when I looked at it, these are different things we've been doing for the last few years. I mean, here we are right now. We're an empty. That means they've got 6 guys against our 6 guys, and we got 1 guy that's going to carry the ball. That's a great odds for us. That is great odds for us. But let's look at this. We got Orgy in the backfield. 1st and 10. All this is power, Denny. This is all power. That's all this play is. Backside guard pulling around. Everybody gap down to backside linebacker. Try to get a kick out or a log by Loveland. And let's put Orgy one-on-one with the rest with the DB. And this is a great play. And I'll tell you what. Look at all this space that's created because we've got all these receivers out here. I don't care if the guy has a hard time throwing across the street. You better cover these guys. You've got to cover these guys, okay? I can hit that bubble, okay? You got to cover them. So when you get in empty, you're actually enhancing the run game. This is a great design. This is a great job by our OC, Campbell, getting our guy in space by himself, and that's great. Now, this is what really impressed me on this run. Orgy's got speed. Everybody was talking about he doesn't have speed or anything like that. He's got some speed. He's got some speed. So now we've seen him outrun people. We've all seen him all year long run over linebackers. This is a weapon. This is a huge weapon for us. I love the game. This kid is he presents a lot of problems for defenses. Great blocking downfield. Mullins down there. Morgan down there. Moore threw a block out there. Great pull around by Al-Hadi. That's great design. Great play by our offense. And that's the way you get the quarterback that has a hard time throwing but is a great running back. That's how you get him involved in the play. I love this play. I love this call. Again, something we've seen over the years. A little flea flicker, fake the inside zone. Mullins pitches the ball back to Warren, and now you've got 3 levels. When you look at this play, Michigan State has this well covered. Davis Warren has got to make a very good throw. He's got 3 levels. He's got the corner, he's got the deep drag, and he's got the shallow drag. And he goes for the big one, and he makes a great play. This is a great throw right here. There's not a lot of room in that window there, Denny.
No, it's a great throw.
And I'll tell you what, that might be the throw that Davis Warren should be working on more. Out to the sideline, out in the way. That might help us with our turnovers, keep him confident. If he's going to miss it outside. But that's a great design, great play, great throw. I love that throw. That's a fantastic throw. And with Orgy back there running the ball, that's a great compliment right there. Now defenses, all of a sudden now defenses got to play both. They've got to play both. And here's part of the problem, Denny. Now Orgy's in. Now we just went down to the goal line. I think we threw the ball twice, right? Or at least once. I know we threw the ball once on this goal line setup. But here he is. Michigan State is confused. We got Orgy in the game. They got 12 guys on the field. And all this is, Denny, is just another pin and pull. Nothing we had to install. All we did was create another lead blocker with Mullins. You see that?
Yeah, so Jerry Mullins is a good blocker. A lot of times, and I know Orgy's a quarterback. He's not what you'd say a wildcat quarterback, but when you have a wildcat package, a guy's just back there and empty, and they always say, well, it's because you can get a number. You can get the numbers up front, like you could put in another offensive lineman. Does Michigan not do that because they like Mullins so much as a blocker? You know, the one that he had the explosive play. He swung out and he probably had to take somebody with him, and then you did see him upfield blocking. So the advantage is if you don't have Mullins in there, you could put an offensive lineman right up in like really short yardage situation.
But you know, here's the disadvantage though, Denny. You still have Mullins with a threat out this side.
Yeah.
You still have Mullins with a threat out this side with a boot pass this way.
Does he fake to him here? Does he fake to him? Yeah,
no, he uses Mullins as a lead blocker. That's my point.
Okay.
You've got so many options with this back in here. You got 2 backs you got to defend, Denny.
Okay.
All of a sudden, you got 2 backs you got to defend.
All right.
You got to defend every gap from here all the way over now because of that quarterback running back combination. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And now we know Mullen's a very physical kind of kid, former linebacker. So is, by the way, Orgy, right? Yeah. Put him in there, and now you got dual threat, and you got a lead blocker if you need it. And this is a great play, great design. And I'll tell you what, Denny, that might go from anywhere on the field. You understand what I'm saying? It's virtually impossible to stop that from 2 yards out.
Well, we
that
know
package right there is almost impossible to stop from 2 yards.
That package will be in tomorrow.
I hope so.
Orgy's going to have
so. Look at Big Links out there blocking. Bredesen comes down on that pin. Great design, great play, and that was a fantastic drive. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. Eric Campbell did a great job coaching this game. You got to give him all the credit in the world.
You don't really know. I mean, you know down there in the goal line, Jerry, but Michigan will put him in on a first down after they pick up a first down or whatever. You know, they'll put him in there. And I'm talking about Orgy. So
yeah, absolutely. He creates a whole nother mess of problems. And Urban Meyer has been saying it all along. Scar's been saying it. I've been trying to say I kind of like Orgy package more than I do the other packages. But the way it worked out against MSU, it was great. It was great. Okay, so here is Orgy once again. We're going to talk about Orgy getting hit at the line of scrimmage and getting 3 yards after contact. Watch this linebacker. His key is the guard. Now, what I would have rather seen is Bredesen lead and Poole Hinton. That way we could have had both plays either going outside zone this way or counter this way. Does that make sense to you, Denny?
Yeah.
This is a total read action. We're trying to read this C-gap player. Now, with Hinton going down, pulling across the field, and Bredesen leading, that puts this guy in a heck of a position. He either's got to get up for Mullins on the outside zone, or he's got to get down for Orgy on the counter. And either way, he's going to be wrong. But good design. But what I like about this, boom, Orgy's hit behind the line of scrimmage and still gets 3 yards. And oh, by the way, Denny, it wasn't just a hit behind the line of scrimmage. It was a targeting hit behind the line of scrimmage. That's a tough quarterback, man. Gains 3 yards and gets the penalty. Tough quarterback.
You know, Jerry, this hit right here, the Ohio State player from last week against Nebraska got thrown out of the game, and they went back and looked at it and said that he's not going to be suspended for tomorrow. They shouldn't suspend this guy for tomorrow.
Well, if the Ohio State guy is, and then throw them all out. Don't suspend anybody then.
Well, unless this was one of those where it was close. I mean, it wasn't one of a spearing and that kind of thing. It was very similar what I saw from the Ohio State player. I
just wonder how many more times Ohio State's going to cry and get their way. That's all I want.
Yeah, well, I want to know how many more times the Big Ten's going to do something where it looks like they're favoriting, one of their team, a team, and
that was one of the reasons I was so adamant last year. We should have made a statement and said, "The heck with them, let's go somewhere else." Because all they do is back down to Ohio. Whatever Ohio wants, they get, and I don't like it. I think it's when you're gonna allow that guy from Ohio to play and not this guy from Michigan State,
that doesn't make any sense.
Not one bit, not one freaking bit. And every coach in the Big Ten should be outraged.
I agree.
Every coach in the Big Ten should be outraged by that.
I agree.
Okay, Denny, there's an old saying on flood passes and boots and those kinds of things that nobody ever covers the drag. They're all looking at the flat. They're looking at the deep corner. Nobody watches the drag. This drag route is usually open. And it's a simple, easy play, but it keeps the chains moving. It keeps the chains moving. You got action going both ways. You got options going both ways. Look at those linebackers separate. Leaves the middle of the field wide open. Do you see that, Denny?
Yeah.
Watch these linebackers separate because we know what they're reading. Watch these two guys right here separate. One's coming out here because he's reading Mullins probably. The other one's over here probably reading the H-back, Loveland. And what do? They split and they open up the drag right across the field. Great design, great play. Again, Campbell had a heck of a game. And this is great. Creatively utilizing all your weapons. We know Donovan. Are you going to be a defense and come up on Donovan Edwards every time now? I mean, he's got a couple 3 touchdown passes, doesn't he, in his career?
Yeah, he had one in the Big Ten championship game.
Big play last year against Ohio.
Yeah, big play there. Right?
Okay. And again, how do you leave Loveland wide open? Well, here's how. Watch him. You see his head, Denny? Look at his head. He's looking inside. This safety has got him targeted. So this safety's got to make a decision. Is he looking down here to block, or is he going to continue through? I think he's looking down here to block. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come up. Great deception by Mullins. And great play call. Outstanding. Fantastic.
That's a fun one. Yeah, that's a fun one to look at on the film. Nice job. Yeah, they really.
I don't know what kind of dance that is, Bob.
He's got the Paul Bunyan dance.
Terrible.
His
dances are terrible. He's got to work on those.
Paul Bunyan dance. That's what that was.
Oh, was that the Paul Bunyan dance?
I think so.
Wow. Okay.
Can you look at it again? I didn't look at it.
No, we can look at it again. Let's take a look at it again. Is this the Paul Bunyan?
If you put your hands on your hips, that's kind of Paul Bunyan, right? So let's take a look if he's dancing like where he puts his hands.
I don't know about that, Denny.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one.
I don't know either.
Okay. But again, another great design. This is something every coach should have in his back pocket going into a game. But you usually only have 1 or 2, and sometimes you use it in the game without using it on a 2-point. But this is well thought out. Great route by Loveland, and just an easy pitch and catch. I mean, this is nothing real fancy. He's just pressing the outside and then coming back in. You got that receiver coming underneath. That's O'Leary. Freezes the inside linebacker just enough to let Loveland clear some space for himself.
Yeah, no picks or anything there. That was just that thing opened up for him. It's the way to do it.
Very, very, very well designed. Very nice job. Very nice job.
I'm with you.
Okay. And what do we got here? I don't know what I had marked there. I think this kid, what's his name? Nick, what was his name?
Oh, the very end of the game? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, this guy from Michigan State.
Nick Marsh.
Nick Marsh from River Rouge. We played him when I was at Battle Creek Lakeview, and he went up and made an outstanding play against a pretty highly recruited, one of my more highly recruited players ever. And I knew he was special then. He was a good player then. You know what, Denny, I'm going to tell you something. You've got to understand that there's a bad history. I think it's upon the defense to say, you know what, the game's over. Let's get out of here. But and I always told our guys, you better protect yourself because you don't know what's going to happen. But look at this guy right here and this guy. That's a punch. That's a punch. I don't care what you say. That's a freaking punch right there.
Well, it's definitely hands to the face, right? And you're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to do that. That's for sure. Okay. And the other kid pressing it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. The game's over. All you're doing is going to start a fight.
Yeah, but Jerry, you got 28 seconds.
Does not need any more of.
Here's the problem that I have. I mean, you got 20 seconds on the clock. nobody on the sideline should be out on the field. It should be the guys that are out there. Sure, a foul, but let all 22 that are out there sort it out when there's still time on the clock. And you can see a lot better. You see who's fouling. When you get to this situation and you got 100 Michigan people, it was close to their sidelines. I mean, there were still 20 seconds on the clock. You can't. I'm not saying that everyone else would have done it too. I'm not really blaming Michigan for doing that. Their idea is, hey, we're gonna break it up and everything, but it didn't break anything up. It just caused the situation. These two, because of the rivalry here, you can't have people spilling out on the field. So Jerry, what did you tell your kids? You got to be prepared.
You got to protect yourself. You're going to step down. You're going to protect that quarterback, and you're looking at that defensive guy, and you're thinking, you take one step towards me, man, I'm going to protect myself.
Jerry, how many times in a game where you were the other team didn't have any timeouts, and the only thing you had to do is kneel on it? How many times did the other team try some stuff like rush in, and they try it once in a while or never?
I can't remember anything this bad.
Okay.
I can't remember anything this bad, this blatant. I mean, that's a punch. I don't care what you say. As far as the guy, that was a fight started. I mean, when you see him, he grabs Loveland by the top of the head, and then Mullins is in, and then this is a powder keg enough.
Yeah.
This is a powder keg enough. This is a fight waiting to break out. Okay. I think you tell your guys, hey, listen, the game's over. You guys played well. Let's get out of here. Just touch up and let's go home. Okay. I think it would have been better suited. I think they would have been better suited for it.
All right. Well, tomorrow, hopefully Michigan stays on the sideline when they're in victory formation and just lets the thing play out when they're getting a victory over the number one team. Level 1 went to Central, Jerry.
I'm sorry?
Level 1, when he says Lakeview, I went to Central.
Battle Creek, Lakeview, Battle Creek Central? Yeah. Yeah, we got them a few times in a row.
All right. One last thing I wanted to ask you. You might not even seen this, but last night when the Jets were playing on Thursday Night Football against the Texans, the first touchdown, the wide receiver ran in, and before he got to the goal line, Jerry just dropped the ball because he was, getting into the end zone. Why does this keep happening? Everybody wants to know why it keeps happening.
I don't know. I don't know. I tell you what, if I'm scoring a touchdown, I don't care how many touchdowns I'm scoring. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that thing is over the line of scrimmage. Okay, clearly over the line of scrimmage, and I didn't score a lot of touchdowns. I'd probably be one of these guys to toss it back and go celebrate with my teammates. But dropping it that close, I mean, you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, I think that would have been his first touchdown ever. Yeah, I know everybody's looking at you when you score. People say, why does it keep happening? Well, the guys, I don't remember what Super Bowl it was. The Cowboys had a defensive player named
Leon Lett.
Leon Lett was he was getting into like dancing a little premature. That's what you're doing. You're getting into your celebration premature, and you got to make sure that you cross that goal line. You can say it a million times, but guys see the end zone. Nobody's around them. And, it's everything that you're hoping. It's you can't wait to score. That's what happens. So, yeah, but that would be, it would be the luck of someone, that you'd think like, going to score one touchdown in his career, and you get in there and then you drop it because you're thinking about doing a dance or something. It just keeps happening, and people can't figure it out. So that's it. There you go. All right, Jerry, that's it. You say that Michigan's in with a chance tomorrow. We appreciate your time. Love the film and all.
We always have a chance, Denny, and we always have a chance in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. Okay. Yes, we have a chance.
All right, Jerry.
Hail to the victors, Denny.
There he is, Jerry Diorio. Thanks for all of the comments and likes and subscriptions.